Welcome to the Open House podcast where women talk real estate. I'm Kristina Moderis.
And I'm Steph Douglas. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I feel like that's what podcast people say.
It is what they say.
Yeah.
It seemed like such an amazing trip. And tell us about it.
Yeah. I went to Japan for how long? We were supposed to go for 2 weeks, and then we pushed it out. Like, we extended our trip 4 days, I think. 4 days, because we had such bad jet lag in the first 3 days and we were getting back on like a Thursday anyway, and we were like, what's the weekend? Like, It's fine. We're not working on the weekends. So yeah, that's what we did. And it was, I love Japan, the culture, like just the people, the food is so good. I never get sick of it. It's just like so much variety. Have you been? Because I know you could travel a lot when your dad was a pilot?
My dad's an airplane mechanic, and for Continental first, then United. And so I was trying to get to Southeast Asia, and I had to like go in the places that United flew. And so they flew to Tokyo. So I had basically like a day-long layover in Tokyo, and that's the only time I've spent there. And I was alone, and I went out and I was like, what could it be? I'm just going to like walk around the city. And it was not like that.
No, it's like so much going on.
Yes.
It's crazy. That's why we also extended our trip when we were in Tokyo. So we were in Tokyo for like 9 days, and it was amazing.
That's so good.
We went,
so cool.
Yeah. Both me and Eric were like, we could live here. Like, we saw little kids just walking. It's so safe. Kids, I think they were, I mean, who knows how old they were. I don't know any kids, but they looked like they were 7 years old, just on the subway, walking to school on their own. It was so cute. They knew which subway, like, which stop to get off on and which to get on. They were just so cute. And
that's incredible. Yeah. It's so safe. So kids can just be out in the city. It's amazing.
And we could just walk around at any time of night in back alleys. Like, we went to Osaka and we did a walking tour, but it was like they took us to places in Japan and Osaka that are kind of like hidden, I guess. They're not, tourists usually don't see it. So we were walking down back alleys and like abandoned buildings, and this our tour guide showed us like these 2 bikes by a abandoned building. He's like, these 2 bikes that work perfectly fine have just been here for the last 3 months and no one has stolen them.
Oh my God.
I'm like, that's not how that works.
It can't even be like 2 hours.
No.
Yeah, that's wild. And we talked about, it's wild because there's so many factors that go into the safety and like the cleanliness, and it's like the culture and all of it. It's just so different from here.
Yeah, and what the city does for like homelessness. Yeah. It was a great place. And everyone's so nice and everyone's so quiet. It was like so calm, and like, and then when you get back to the US, the airport is just like everyone's like yelling, and like the TSA people are like screaming at you, and you're like, I'm just here. I don't know
like,
what
sensory overload. I'm
Yeah.
just here.
Yeah, like, what am I supposed to do? Why are you yelling at me? Like,
oh, I know.
So
Americans
crazy.
especially, I think, among the louder countries. I remember going to Germany, and I was visiting a friend who was with a German partner, and he kept on telling her to be quiet, and I was like, she's just talking in like a normal way. But yeah, there's just countries that are quiet and calm, and America is not that.
No, and there's just like so much anger, I feel like.
So much. Yeah.
It just feels
People
like
are
there's
mad at each
underlying,
other.
yeah,
Yeah.
like tenseness and underlying anger in everyone's voice. Not everyone, but like in a lot of tense situations with like the airport, like that can be for a lot of people a tense situation. But or like the subway, like we were in the subway, it's insane. Everyone's like walking with a mission where they know where they're going, and there's like hundreds of people, thousands of people, and me and Eric had our like millions of bags like hauling around down in the subway. We should have taken a taxi, but just heading from the airport to our hotel, and everyone's chill. There's no screaming, no yelling, no, like, if you heard anyone laugh, like there was only one loud experience in the subway in the train, and it was like a bunch of Swedes, I think, or like, and they were like a bunch of tourists with a tour guide, and they were all like loudly talking, and I was like, wow,
you're like
loud.
That's amazing. It's so cool that you like, I mean, he gave that to you as a gift, or he planned this trip. Eric did.
Yeah, he had a bunch of points too, so we flew from LA. So our tickets were like $500 or something.
Oh my God.
So it was really good.
So you'll go back?
Oh yeah. Well, that's what we also extended our trip, because we were like, when are we going to come back here in the next like 5 years? We don't really know. So we did it. We did it all.
That's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, you brought your computer, right? Or
No, I didn't bring my computer.
Yes.
I didn't. I was going to, but I was like, what am I going to use it for?
Yeah.
I can do a lot of stuff from my phone, so no computer.
And we were like opposite time zones. You would be like going to bed at like 10:30 or 10 a.m. here.
It's a 12-hour time difference.
Yeah.
So
so cool. So cool. I love that we're able to do that, and that like the company goes on, and especially now that we have, our team built where, I mean, you were gone. I hardly felt it, just because it was like we had Holly doing the things she needed, and she was Gracie keeping us on track and like reminding me of things. And it's just like, it's so nice. Yeah,
I know I was talking to our 2 employees, Gracie and Holly, yesterday at our marketing meeting, and I was like, how'd it go while I was gone? And they, they were like, yeah, everything was good. And I'm going to have a one-on-one with them today, just to see if there was like anything, like what their concentration was while I was gone and stuff. But it worked. Everything was smooth. And Holly specifically was like, yeah, I think we're set up well for anyone in this company to kind of leave for a little bit, and we'll be good to go. And I was like, yeah, that's perfect.
That's amazing. Yeah. Gracie's going to Palm Springs next month. Like I love it. I'm so happy. And I think Holly was gone. She went to Hawaii recently. We're trying to like set that expectation, and like the I don't know, set an example of work-life balance, and make sure that people have a good life and work hard.
Yeah, because this is not life and death. We are running a real estate company. We are not surgeons.
Yes, no. Speaking of, my friend is in the hospital right now. She has appendicitis. And
what, too? Oh, you don't have to say. Don't say.
Yeah, I've learned this.
Yeah.
But I am so close to the hospital. I'm like, it's right across the highway from my house. And so this morning I walked over and brought her a smoothie, and it was like, she's there for like 4 to 5 days at least, which is wild.
Yeah, that hospitals are really sad, lonely places. At least I feel that way.
It's wild. Yeah. So yeah, we're not surgeons, and we're grateful for our health.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I did my first split squats today after my ACL surgery. So, or no, what are they? Jumping split squats. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, at Barry's.
Yes. So I was like,
oh my God,
I'm recovering.
Yay. How did it feel? Did you feel it?
I felt it. It didn't feel great, but it didn't feel horrible, and I could do it. So my leg is definitely getting stronger after our trip. We walked like average, like 15, like I think the most we walked in a day, 3 days in a row, was like 20 to 25,000 steps, which I think is like 8 miles, 10 miles. I don't know.
Yes, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
that's perfect. So that was your workout when you were gone.
Yes. Yeah. We tried to do workouts in our room, but our room was like the size, like it was a tiny shoebox. So
yeah.
Didn't really do that.
Man, walking is such a good. I've been really prioritizing it, and like now, I mean, I have my dog, and like that's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But like, it's amazing. It's just it's such a good exercise. It's chill. It's calm. It's not like jarring on your body.
Yeah, and when you have places to go, like in Japan, I didn't even really feel it except for my feet at the end of the day. But I love having places to go. Like we were just like walking around, looking around. It was so much fun. I feel like at home, I sometimes I'll just like go on a walk, but there's nowhere I'm like aiming for, so I'll just like end up coming home early because I'm like, where am I going? I don't know.
It's utilitarian. The utilitarian walks are amazing. You should start planning things like meeting at Kind of Tropical, or like walking to whatever, because that's been helping me too. We have, my friends started a pétanque night, which is kind of like bocce ball. It's like French bocce ball. And they live like a mile from me, and I've been walking there, and there's a liquor store on the way, and it's amazing.
That's so fun. A group friend hang, doing something, walking. You're just like mixing it all in one.
Exactly. I love it. Okay, we should keep going.
Yes.
And one of our properties that wasn't really doing as much in Airbnb as I wanted it to. We wanted to transition it to long term, but it wasn't going to cover the mortgage. So we hired this company that is such a good concept. They build tiny homes on trailers, and they basically like rent the land from you. And then by rent, I mean I will get 25% of the Airbnb income, and they build the whole tiny house, everything. We had to put $2,500 like down as a deposit, and they handle everything else.
Wow.
And they basically are like, they're just in our land, and they're managing the Airbnb, they're managing everything. So that way we can go long term, and then that will supplement our income.
We should set up a time to talk to him about this, because I think people could be interested in doing this on their own land. So
amazing. Yes. They have I think 6 now in Austin. Wow. And it's a great model. Like, it's a great model for them. It's kind of a win-win. So they're not done yet. I think they have like a couple more weeks, and then it will be fully up and running. So I will keep everyone posted. And it would be cool to have him on.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. Well, that's very exciting. I wish I had somewhere to put one of these, but right now I do not.
I know.
Else I would do it.
You have a tiny home in the place of where you could put it, or like a shed.
Yeah, a shed that is sitting there doing nothing, but also it's fine. Yeah, I figured, like, since I've been gone for a few weeks, I got back and we had an agent meeting, and I feel like the conversation was like I feel like the overall vibe of how our clients are feeling right now is just like everyone's in this waiting period. Is that how you feel? Like essentially we're talking about the best way to buy in this current market. And this current market, do you want to like kind of talk about what is going on in this current market?
Yes. Okay. So interest rates are stagnant. We're seeing them hover in like the low 6s, which, that's a lot higher than we've seen over the past 15 years. It's still relatively low in the history of rates. However, people, for some reason, are feeling like prices are going to continue to drop, even though rates are slated to drop as well. But usually what happens is there is a correlation between rates dropping and prices increasing. So it's like, we always say this, but there's never like the perfect time to buy. There's never a time when the rates are super low and the prices are super low. So right now we're seeing those rates stay stagnant. It's spring, so it's like this is kind of a natural time for people to start listing. So we're seeing an increase in inventory, and we're seeing our buyers are kind of like, well, we just want to wait to see what happens. But like we kind of know what's going to happen. Like what we've seen is that December 2022 was the bottom of prices. So prices did drop from May to December, and then from December they've kind of crept upward, which is trending up, meaning prices are not going to go down anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah. And like I would say, so people are waiting. Definitely there's just this like looking casually kind of sense that people have of like they're looking at homes, but they don't feel this sense of urgency that they once did, which is funny because what we had, like, was it last year? Maybe even like 12 months or even more ago. We had low interest rates, right? Which, so your payment would be lower, but then you had a bunch of people trying to buy. So it was like, it almost felt like this sense that you're going to miss out if you don't like jump in at this moment. Where there was kind of some truth to that depending on what you were looking for, but not, I mean, there, I don't know, when everyone's doing something, you kind of have to think like, okay, what is that going to mean, or what yeah. So it's just interesting now that like there's not this urgency from people. Like, I think one of the aspects could be that like before, their friends were like, oh, we're buying this house, we're putting multiple offers, and maybe that scared some people, but I also think it was like, oh, I'm missing out on something.
Absolutely.
But also we were talking about how much more expensive your monthly payment will be, right?
Yeah,
like it's going to be a lot more. Yeah, and I don't want to like brush by that, because we're not the type of people who are gonna be like, it's a good time to buy at all times, and it's not saying it's a bad time now or a good time. It's like, we're always saying, here's all the data.
Yeah.
Look at your own situation and make decisions based on that. Don't do that based on like the hype of what people are doing.
Yeah. It's never a good time for everyone, and it's never a bad time for everyone. And the barriers to entry, for sure, the biggest barrier is that monthly payment, for sure. But that in turn relieves some of the other barriers that were happening when the interest rates were super low, in that we were literally telling people, you have to have $80,000 to compete in this market or you can't buy anything. And now you can have like $15K and you can buy a house.
Right. So it was like, you have to have $80,000, but your monthly payment might be below $3,000, right?
Yeah.
It would definitely be below $3,000. Or depending on the price of your home, obviously, but like you had to have more money because you had to like make your offer look appealing to sellers, so they would pick your offer. And now it's like, okay, if I have less than like 20K, I can buy a house, but then my monthly payment is going to be over $3,000. So you just like pick your poison at this point.
Yeah. And ideally your monthly payment's not going to be that for long, because there's always the refinance option. And then there's also these options called rate buy downs, and there's different types, but that can also relieve that payment up front and hopefully buy you some time to where you'll be able to refinance when the rates go back down.
Right. And I know we were talking about a specific rate buy down yesterday. Sydney brought it up that one of our lenders that we work with often uses. I can't remember exactly. It was like you can buy it down. So essentially what a rate buy down is like when you're going to buy a house, you can pay something like buy down points. So essentially, like, let's say you got, the lender looked at your credit score, they looked at your earnings, and they were like, okay, we can offer you a 6.5% interest rate right now. And then you can ask them for what are your options for a rate buy down, and they will give you all of the options they have. Not all lenders have the same programs. Right. So remember that. And you can, when you're talking with our realtors, like jump on a call to talk to them about this, and they can assign you a specific lender to talk to based on like what you're saying to them.
Yeah, what buy downs you're interested in. And buy downs, basically you're paying upfront to lower the rate. So if you have a 6.5% interest rate quote, they can say, okay, it's going to cost $10K to get us down to 6.125. And in a lot of cases these days, since it's not as competitive, the seller is paying for that. And so it's kind of it's
a negotiation, right?
Yeah,
like you can negotiate by asking them, can you buy down my rate?
Right. And literally, y'all, there were no negotiations during the pandemic. Like when we had a 2.5, 2.6 interest rate, you had to sign away your right for inspection. You have to sign away your right to back out if you had found something wild. Like now we're really getting into this zone of like, they're delivering a really high quality house and they're paying for your buy down or whatever it is. So it's just like, there's pros and cons.
I want to paint this extreme picture because I don't think people, let's remember that let's say there was a house for like $500,000. This was like when the market was crazy. When you went under contract, you're waiving your appraisal contingency often. Yes. And then you're often saying, not only are you waiving that, you're saying I will pay. So like, let's say the house appraised. So you were under contract for $500K and it only appraised for $400K. Before you even make an offer, you the seller wants to know, like, okay, well, if it doesn't appraise for 500, are you going to pay for that? Are you going to come up with that 100K? Because we don't want to lower the price to that 400K. So like, you were paying so much, and you also didn't know how much you had to have a lot of cash.
Yeah. You were promising to make up that 100K, which is a wild thing to do. People were literally doing that. And let's say that you're under contract for a house at 500K. That means that house was probably listed at like 325, because that is where it was so extreme, y'all. It was so extreme. People were writing articles about it. I mean, obviously, that's unsustainable, luckily, but it did last for like a year and a half. It lasted for way longer than I thought. And the only reason why it's not happening right now is because the rates went up.
Yeah. And I will say, like, you can get deals right now. Like, the houses were overpriced in certain areas. Like, I was talking to our friends yesterday, who owned it wasn't a ranch, but it was like kind of like a second home. We used to go out there and just like hang out with a bunch of friends. There was land, but they bought it. I think they bought it for like $470 or something in Smithville, and they sold it at the peak for $720. And yesterday I was like, y'all, could you even sell, like, I don't even think you could sell that in the 500s right now. Like, and they were like, yeah, I think we could sell it for like 530 right now. And I was like, yeah, it's, which you like, whatever, whoever, some people listening to this might take that in like, oh, that's stressful or whatever. Like, what does that mean for prices right now if you own? But we were seeing such appreciation that like you don't see in a lifetime. We will not see that in our lifetime. I don't think ever again.
And I do think that like, while there were some wild situations, like I think we will get back there. Like, we dipped, and now we're seeing again, so the prices are ticking back up. So it's like, if you bought during the pandemic, you're going to be fine. I am not worried, but it's just that the competition was wild. It was pushing prices up so much. So, markets go up and down. Like, that's just how it goes. We can't just assume that everything's going to go up forever. But the real estate market historically has gone up with some dips, and then it recorrects, and it's back to where it was before. So,
and at 530, if they bought it for 5 or 470 or whatever, if they sold it for 530, like, that still is an incredible return.
Amazing.
Because they only owned it for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So like, we cannot be accustomed to getting 200. What is that even? I don't even know what is that percentage? We can't, that's not a,
it's like a 60% return.
that's not normal, especially after only 2 years of owning something or less.
Yes.
Like, people were buying something and selling in 2 years and getting like 400K or something. And that's not normal. And we shouldn't like base our decision making now on that crazy time.
Yes. And I mean, I think that the fear that is circling the buyers right now, just because we have our fingers such on the pulse of the buyers, that our agents are working with, 6 buyers at a time, in different capacities at different points in their journeys, but they're worried that they're gonna like get a really bad interest rate, and like they're gonna miss this dip or this crash. But y'all, I think it already happened. The crash happened and it's over, is what I think. What do you think?
When do you think that was like the lowest of the low? Like, what month?
December 2022. I think that was the bottom.
I mean, we saw that in our own sales, right?
Yes.
Like in our, on like who was buying, who was not. Like, we saw that.
Yeah.
So
January,
it'll be interesting.
We had 0 sales in January because people were just like, I don't think I want to pay 7% interest.
Yeah.
Which is very fair. But I do think that they're like, because of that, people got really good deals. I mean, people were dropping their prices. That there was, if you had to sell, you were selling at an extreme discount. So those people who bought, they might have a high interest rate, but they're going to be able to refinance out, and they got an amazing house for an amazing price.
What agent was talking about one of their clients who had an awesome, I mean, I'm sure multiple agents did, of like someone who got like 15K in, concessions, meaning like the seller gave them 15K to do whatever with on the house, and
new roof, like all Like,
and they only had to put like 3% down,
Yes.
and they like, yeah. So, I will say, so like when we're talking about buying right now, like what would you like, I want to talk about like what we would recommend for a first time buyer right now,
Yeah.
because not a lot of first time buyers, they don't want to pay $3,000 a month, or they don't think that's possible. But I will say, like, we never, as a company, Open House Austin, all of our agents, we always teach you house hacking. Whenever we're like talking about buying, we don't talk about flipping. We're not saying like buy now to sell in 5 years, unless like you specifically talk to us about wanting to do that.
Yeah.
Like, but we're not encouraging that. We're encouraging you to buy and hold. We're encouraging you to always lower your monthly payment no matter what. Like, even when my monthly payment was like $1,800 a month, I was trying to eliminate it.
Yes.
You know, like we're trying to lower it or eliminate it.
Yeah.
And we're always teaching our clients that.
Absolutely. So the people who are buying right now, a lot of people are just like, I don't care. I'm gonna have either a roommate, sneaky duplex, a tiny house in the back, like supplement, like I was talking about earlier with my tiny house, just figuring out how to supplement, lower your mortgage any way you can without affecting your quality of life too much. So in this case, we're seeing people buy who want to house hack. So like the $3,000 payment, that's okay because they're going to cover $2,000 of it. So they're only going to pay $1,000.
Right.
Or
being creative.
Yes.
Being creative always. And like, I will say, it's, if you're a first time buyer now, it's the things we're suggesting for you to do are the things that we suggested for you to do a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. I will say, like, when I tried to buy my first house, I had to partner. I had to buy with a partner. And like, housing prices at that time, we would all kill for.
Oh my
you know,
God,
like
I know.
they were low.
Yeah.
Interest rates were like 4%. Like, it was historically a good time, or whatever, if you want to look at that, for most people to buy. And it's funny because around that time, that's when I got my real estate license as well. And people were like, the market's gonna crash, this is that. So like, I'm glad I didn't listen to people at that time, because the market didn't crash. There was no, honestly, it got crazy like 4 years later and got even better.
Yeah.
And like, so you gotta like use your own judgment. There's not one answer for things. So yeah, that's
especially when you live in a city like Austin,
mm-hmm.
where not all cities are appreciating, you know, really. I mean, you could buy somewhere and not see appreciation and just like, you know, have a house and it's okay. But
did I tell you we looked up Eric's grandparents' house that they
in Minnesota,
or like, no, his mom's house, their first house they bought in like Iowa or something, and like they bought it for like 40 or 30, and now it's for sale for like 60K or something, or 65. I was like, what?
Wait, they bought it for 600,000?
No. They bought it for like a long time ago, before they had kids.
Oh,
or
they bought it for
whatever.
64,000.
No, they bought it for 40.
40.
Oh,
got it.
And it had sold in the last 3 years for 65.
That is
I was
so
like,
wild.
Ah.
Wow. So yeah, we're just, I mean, you just have to know what to do. And we really, like, I moved to Houston when I was 10, came to college in Austin, not knowing anything. I mean, I'm in the right place at the right time, and started buying just because it seemed interesting to me. And I did see the growth, but like, yo, we are such a young city, and Austin is growing so much. So it just makes sense to no matter what price we're at, like as we've seen, every single price point, people are like, oh, it's going to crash. It's going to crash in the next 2 years.
And honestly, I am never, I mean, when prices were like crazy in Austin, I did look at like, ooh, how much is my house worth now? But like in this time, I'm not looking at that.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at that at all. I typically don't look at how much my house is appreciated, because I'm truly a buy and hold investor, unless like I buy something. Like when I first bought properties, when I was young and like figuring it out, I had bought like really inexpensive kind of rundown properties that I would fix up, but those are the ones that I have sold off now, and those are the ones I always looked at appreciation, because I was like, how am I going to lose money on this or what? Because I know I'm going to sell them soon, because it was just too much of a risk for me to hold those.
Yeah.
but I'm typically not looking to sell when I buy something. So I don't know. I look at like cash flow or like long-term plans, like creative things that I'm excited to do with the property. And like, obviously that needs to bring a return, but I'm not like, I need to buy this house now and sell it in 2 years and get this, like, how much is it worth? So
totally. Yeah. I actually, we bought our house in July of last year, right when stuff was, dropping. We got it $100K less than what they had it listed at the time, and they had listed it $600K more than that earlier, which is wild. And I knew 3 months after I bought it, I would not be able to sell it for what I bought it for. It had dropped. And I think today I was just on a walk and I was like, that house is on the market and it's under contract. I'm just going to do a little calculation. And now I'm back, baby. Like, this house would sell for what I bought it for now. So like, I had a 7-month, 8-month drop.
Yeah. And
luckily I didn't freak out and sell like some people do when they think things are going down.
Yeah.
But now we're back. So it's kind of like, you just have to ride the wave a little bit, especially when you live in the house and you've bought quality, it's going to come back up.
Yeah. And plan for that.
Yeah.
You have to have, as we have learned as investors, as a company, as just like individuals, of like having reserves. It's so important because you will not feel that panic and that decision making. Like, when you're in panic mode, that's the worst time to make a decision.
Yes.
And so if you have reserves and there's like chaos going on around you, you can kind of like sit in it and be like, I'm good. Like, let me look around. Like, what makes sense for me at this moment? It's like, it's probably usually not. It's best to not make a move at that.
Yes,
at that point.
yes. Chill.
Depending on things.
But yes. But I also had friends just recently who bought way back. I mean, she bought her house for $220 in 2019, and it was a little further out. She was like in a stage of her life where that made sense. She got a raise, got a partner moved in, they did some upgrades, and then they found a house closer into town, nicer, beautiful, exactly what they want. And they're like, okay, I'm going to rent that house because it's got a super low mortgage. And that mortgage or that rental income is going to supplement the payment, because the payment that we're on the new house that they just bought in the beautiful location is high, obviously. But like, they're like, it's okay because we have the supplement from our old house that we're renting out. So I don't know.
So this is someone like who has bought a house before. So yeah, if you're someone who like bought a house, in the last like 2 to 10 years, whatever it is, and you're wanting to upgrade, this could be a really good time for you. Is that why did they choose now? Were they like looking before and they just couldn't see anything? They didn't want to get into the like bidding wars?
Yes. Oh my God. Like, they've been looking throughout the pandemic, and it kept on being like, we're getting priced out. Like, we're not going to be able to get anything in our dream location with the square footage that we want, with the finishes that we want. Like, it's just impossible. And then prices dropped.
Oh.
Because now, I mean, the house that they bought would have sold for $1 million in the pandemic for sure. And the people that listed it, they didn't care about that because they probably bought it for $400,000. Like,
exactly.
There was a lot of like greediness going on with like, I thought during the pandemic I could have gotten this, so I don't want to sell but even though you have $600K in equity already.
Right. You're never going to get that, my loves.
Yes.
You're never going to get that again.
Hopefully. Or otherwise,
I mean, maybe in like, I don't know who. Right. Like, right. I mean, that was crazy times. Like,
yes.
Yeah. You're never going to, never say never, but I'm like, you're not going to buy it and then within a year be able to like sell your house for $200K more. And if you are like, I don't want that again. That was, I mean, I hate a bidding war. I sat out during that time. I honestly started looking at other places to live during that time because I was like, I hate bidding wars and I want to live in a different house, and I'm not doing this. I'm not going to go into a bidding war right now.
We both bought right as it was ending, as like prices were dropping, people were reducing, people were giving concessions, and like, we definitely could have gotten a lower interest rate, but we couldn't have gotten the houses we got at the prices we got them at.
No, definitely not. No, this house would have been way more.
Yes.
I couldn't have afforded it. I would have needed way more to put down. And yeah, it was all around. It was the best moment for us. We also were able to take our time. I was able to come to this house like a handful of times, check it out, really like feel good in my decision.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because there's nothing worse than like buying a house. Like I think maybe as a first time buyer, like I think you should probably set your expectations a little lower, like than you probably have them. This is like your starter home. This is a gateway house.
Yes, a gateway house. It is. That's a great way to put it.
A gateway drug house.
It was for me and you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The first one I was like, ooh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. But yeah. So, but if you're buying if you're buying a house that you're like, I want to stay here for a while, I really want to like have a certain lighting, or I have like this is a time to kind of look around, you know?
Totally. I mean, inventory is going to start to tick up. Hopefully we just, no one knows what the rates are going to do, because it's every month the Fed meets and something happens, and it's, you know, no one knows. But I do think that there's going to be somewhat of a sweet spot in the summer of like the rates are on their way down and the prices haven't raised yet, because they will. Once the rates go down, people are going to be out because people are sitting there waiting for this. So if you can get in there before those people start their process, I do think there's, right? Don't you think there's going to be a little sweet spot?
I'm sure there will be. There always, like in every real estate market through the years, like I don't know. I don't know, but like, again, I like to look at my current situation. That's why I even wrote down like, what are me and you doing right now? Are we buying? Are we waiting? And like, I think me and Steph are always looking. The only reason I'm waiting right now is because I don't have cash.
Yes.
I don't have enough cash, and I don't have like their creative. It's usually what hits me is like this creative itch to like do a project of some sort. And I think the next one that me and Steph are kind of excited about is our next office that we'll start to talk about once it's a for real thing. We're gonna hopefully be moving into a better office soon and renovating that, and we're really excited about it. But I'm not waiting because I think it's a bad time. I'm waiting because I've spent the last 6 years being aggressive in my purchasing, and it's time for me to save a little cash that I've never done before. I've always bought with like, oh, I just spent $20,000 and I have $2,000 in my bank account now. And I'm like, that's not how you, that's not what you, it's not, you know, it's, you do it. I did it, you know, I'm not trying to do it right now.
Yeah. We went really, really hard for a while, for like 5 years. And now we're in the houses that we want to be in. We're not trying to like push and hustle as much, but instead do projects that are really exciting to us. And so like that's where we've always wanted to get, but we wouldn't have been able to get here if we hadn't hustled and did what we did.
Yeah.
So
if I didn't have roommates, if I didn't house hack, and I'm house hacking now, I have a sneaky duplex. You're house hacking right now. You have like the apartment above your garage. Like we're not sleeping on that. We're still actively investing and actively like working on projects. But as far as like purchasing right now, I'm saving money so I can purchase hopefully as soon as possible. I'm looking, we'll see. I don't know. I'm like looking around to do like a cool project, but I need that income.
Need that cash.
Need that cash.
My mom, I just got off the phone with her. She's in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And she was like, I just met with a realtor. I was like, what?
Your mom. She would.
But she currently lives in a house that me and her bought together. And she's been aggressively paying that down because she's house hacked it the whole time. She lives in a tiny back house, and she Airbnbs the front house. And she has, I think we owe like 170 on that house, and it's worth probably $1 million. And so she's considering taking a HELOC and buying a property in Mexico, cash. Well, quote unquote cash, you know.
Right.
And it's a property I own, so it's mine too.
Ooh, part owner. I love that for you.
So
that's like the best. You'll be like a kind of a silent investor.
Exactly. Maybe. Just like kind of like I'll have access to it. But yeah, she just sent me one that it's a condo. So like, you know, it comes with, it's not what you envision when you're like, oh, a beach house and whatever. But it is like directly on the ocean. Like you could stand on the balcony and like throw something into the ocean.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like that is the dream.
Yes.
Again, like y'all, you have to start to get here.
Yeah.
You just got to start and you're going to make some mistakes
Yes.
and that's fine. And you have to be okay with that. And like, yeah, I will say, I think we've said it before, is like too much research creates analysis paralysis. And I learned like by just walking around Tokyo, there's so many shops everywhere. And I like literally went in there being like, I'm going to buy like a bunch of cute clothes. I bought nothing, no clothes. Well, like one thing, because there were so many options and I was like, like, and so it just like reminded me of just like getting into anything like this is like, you just gotta just pick something and do it. Like you can't, it's not going to be you're not going to just like get it right on the first try. Like know that going into it.
Yes. And I've just posted a TikTok about one of the listings that we have live right now about pulling a tiny home onto it. And I think it was on Instagram. And someone was like, you know that like this costs money and like you have to qualify for the loan for like the house first. And with Airbnb, there are tons of problems and there's squatters and like there's so many
like,
things.
and
like, wow. First of all, obviously this does not seem like a thing that you're interested in, which is so totally fine, right? Like,
right.
But like, if you were interested in this, we need a complete mindset overhaul. Because if you're jumping to all the things that could go wrong, you're never going to do anything.
Yeah, it's so true. People do jump on. It's like, what do you expect it all to be easy?
Right. Right. Like, do you think that I'm suggesting that you're just making money from $0 and having a free tiny home? No, babe.
No.
I'm sorry, that was so condescending. But I just, it's wild. It's wild. And so I just think that mindset is so much of it. And people are like, oh my God, you have a ranch and you'll have a house with a pool and by the lake. It's like, it does.
They assume you came from money, you had money.
Yes. And it does seem ridiculous, right? But it's like these ridiculous things are totally possible.
Right. And we all come from different like backgrounds, different steps up in life, right? Like some of us start down here, some of us start up here, but like all of us have access to a lot of these things that we're teaching. And like if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't have that cash right now. I don't even have 15K. I do want to get into this. It's like, there are ways to learn. There are ways to like come to our investor meetup, talk to these women, say like, can I intern for you? Can I help you in any way? Like, also like partnering with people. That's how I started. I literally, when I bought my house with a friend, I used a lot of my money and all my time. Like I had the time. He had cash. He had a stable job. I didn't have those things. So I was hustling. I hate that. But like I was totally. Like driving to the property. I was like finding the tenants. I was like handling the calls. Like I was the property manager. So, it's not easy, especially if you don't. And I know there's people who come from like definitely lower, like income classes than us. But that's where you start with like learning from others. And we do want to give people like that access to everything that we have started with as well. And we give away so much free information. We have so many events you can come to and like chat with us, pick our brain. Like if, like there's people who are like, I want to like work with you because I've listened to all your podcasts and I've, I everything you are doing, I want to do. And like, we talk to you. We're not, there's so many ways.
I mean, yeah, totally. It's really interesting that the mindset is like the biggest barrier, literally the biggest one. And mindset is a privilege as well. Like we both have parents who are scrappy and entrepreneurial and like totally recognize that. But mindset is the thing that you can change the fastest. Like you can't change how much cash you have terribly fast. It could be kind of a process to save 15K. But if you change your mindset first and then be like, okay, I need to save $15,000 to buy my first house.
Yeah.
I'm going to set aside $200 bucks a month.
Honestly, don't even discount the mindset. Like, I feel like that can be I think for us, we just don't even know. But like, I think that might take a long time for people. Like, it's crazy. I think, we learned that even in doing homeschool,
totally,
our live course. Like, people don't think the best of their situation, of themselves. It's really can be hard to get past that. And it like, I was going to say, go to therapy, talk about these issues. me and Steph are about to have to jump off to go to our
therapy.
business coach, which is our therapy.
Our couples therapy.
But yeah, like work on that first. Really.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work you need to do if you are that person who commented on that TikTok.
Yeah. I know. Yes, we have so much compassion, and we do understand that it is, but start with podcasts, and ours is a good place to start, but there's so many. We both like really, really dug in when we discovered real estate investing. So we know you can do it. And please, all of our resources are there for you. They're free. And book a call.
Hop on a call.
Yeah.
It's free call. Very straightforward. Can be as quick or as long as you want it to be.
Yeah. Ask your questions. So, all right. This is so fun. Glad you're back.
Yeah. Glad to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Oh, okay. Bye.